When I was pregnant with my first baby, I listened to a ton of birth stories and noticed a very worrying trend. Rarely did a first-time mom have a positive birth experience. 9 times out of 10, she had a really rough first birth, went back to the drawing board, made changes, and then the second birth was the powerful positive experience she wanted all along. And this terrified me. Do I have to go through a traumatizing first birth in order to eventually have a nice one? You know me, I hit the books, I scoured all the research articles in the world, I spoke with multiple midwives, took a birth course, and you know what? Even when my pregnancy turned high risk, I had the tools to handle it. I was able to save my birth plan, and it was ultimately an incredible, positive experience. If you're a first-time mom, you can look forward to an awesome birth. You just need the right preparation, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do to get it right the first time around. But first, my name is Maria. I'm a Lamaze certified childbirth educator and owner of the app Natural Birth by Echo, a free resource with all the tips and tricks you need to make your unmedicated birth a positive one. Okay, the first thing every first-time mom needs in her toolkit is education. Birth education. Learn everything you can. Learn about your body. Learn about the labor process. Learn what's going on with your baby. Learn what a contraction is and why it's good and not something super scary like movies and the media make it out to be. The more you learn about birth, the better prepared you will be for game day. Back to my story, I was 35 weeks pregnant with my first baby, all set to have a natural birth when all of a sudden my pregnancy turned high risk. My midwives transferred my care to a hospital where I was told I would need a C-section ASAP. Fortunately, I had taken a birth course, I had read books, learned everything I could, and I knew that we don't have to go straight to a C-section. We can wait until 37 weeks, we can attempt an induction, and during labor, I knew that I don't have to get a catheter, IV fluids, and mobile fetal monitoring with all the cords and the wires. I can refuse all of these things and still be perfectly safe. And you know what? My birth went incredibly well, given the circumstances. My doula was shocked, the doctors were shocked, and I owe it all just to having the information. Knowing how to handle each thing as it comes up is powerful. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard, "It's my first baby, so I'm just gonna get drugs. It's my first baby, so I'm just gonna do what the doctor says. It's my first baby, so I'm just gonna see how this one goes." And I'm thinking, Mama, it's your first baby. You need to be learning everything you can. Invest now and reap the rewards later. Research tells us that mothers who take a childbirth education course are less likely to need a C-section or an induction. They are more likely to breastfeed. They are less likely to request an epidural. And they also report less pain in labor because they know how to manage pain naturally. It's honestly insane how just having the facts can impact your birth so powerfully. As for which course to take, because there are a lot, the Echo Natural Birth course is the resource I wish I had when I was a first-time mom. I spent literally hundreds of hours researching and perfecting this bad boy to make it not just helpful, but also fun. The most effective way for the brain to learn and internalize information is through storytelling, so I lean into that. I could give you facts and data all day long, but when you're in rip-roaring labor, you're not thinking, upright positioning has a 64% success rate. No, that information is not internalized. You're not actually going to apply it. But when each lesson is attached to a story, your brain internalizes the information and it actually gets used in the labor situation. And that is just one of the many things that sets the Echo Natural Birth course apart. You are far more likely to actually benefit from each lesson because your brain, it's just going to process the information better. Okay, birth education is foundational. The next thing you need as a first-time mom, it kind of stems from education, and that is confidence. Stay confident. No matter who you are or what your birth plan is, somebody is going to look at your choices and tell you, you're doing it wrong. This isn't how I did it. That can't be safe, whatever the case may be. In the face of all of this, lean on your research, lean on your own intuitive knowledge as a mother, and remain confident in your parenting decisions. I know it sounds kind of woo-woo, but confidence actually also helps mitigate pain in childbirth as well, oddly enough. This is because the biggest source of labor pain is fear. It's called the fear, tension, pain cycle. When you're fearful, you start tensing up and your brain primes itself for upcoming discomfort. It sends an anticipatory pain response, so whether you're actually in pain or not, your brain will experience something negative just from the fear. For example, what if I told you to gently place a toothpick into the tip of your big toenail and kick the wall as hard as you can? What's your reaction? If you're anything like me, when you hear that, you probably tense up and you're like, oh, I don't want to hear that, stop. Why though? I'm not in pain. It's just a mental image. It can't hurt me. I'm fine. But my brain creates this awful picture and I subconsciously tense up and think, make it stop, make it stop. My brain is preparing itself to experience pain and I'm already begging for this thing to stop and it's not even happening. This is what happens when we are afraid. Fear leads to this tension, this anticipation of what's to come, and that ultimately leads to more pain that may or may not be entirely in our heads. An easy way to cut this thing short is by staying confident. Don't give in to the fear, and that's going to look different for everybody. For example, one mom wanted a home birth. She did her research, she knew herself, and she felt that it was the right choice for her. However, her family would not give her a moment's peace. They called her a bad mother. They threatened to call CPS. Someone even told her, when your child dies, it's going to be your fault. All the things that a pregnant mom does not need to hear. This mom, however, was fabulously confident, but the comments and criticism of her family were disturbing her. She put up excellent boundaries and told everyone, look, if you have anything less than positive to say, then for the sake of my baby, I just don't feel comfortable seeing you until after the baby is born. Unfortunately, she did need to enforce that boundary and several family members were temporarily cut off until after the baby arrived. And I'm not saying go and cut anybody off, not at all. This is just one example of how one mother chose to preserve her confidence. And to skip to the end, she had a beautiful home birth. Her son was perfectly fine and healthy, and a lot of her family members recanted their former opinions about home birth. This story is just to highlight how important confidence really is in avoiding that fear, tension, pain cycle. Birth is 90% a mental game, so if negative comments and opinions are affecting your mentality, they will affect your birth, and they've got to go. On the flip side, positive, uplifting words, the support of your friends and family, these things are huge in helping you to maintain the composure you need for success. I will say this until the cows come home, I could not have given birth without my husband's support, which leads me to the third thing you need as a first-time mom, and that is a supportive and educated birth partner. Study after study after study after study shows that birth just goes better when mom has a supportive and engaged birth partner by her side. Moms are far more likely to achieve positive unmedicated births. They are less likely to need interventions. They have shorter labors and their birth satisfaction rates are much higher. It's not the doctor who's doing all of this. It's not the nurses. It's not the hospital staff who are providing all of these benefits. It's the everyday dads. It's the best friends, the doulas who show up for mom when she needs a hand to hold. But why? Why does this positive presence have such a powerful effect? Well, there are many answers to that question, but it really comes down to this. A good birth partner is going to make every other labor tool work better. Just about every mother gets to a point in her labor where she's like, I'm done. This is stupid. I don't want to do it anymore. And in that moment, it's really easy to lose confidence. You tense up and everything becomes more difficult. The labor tools, the essential oils, the acupressure, none of it helps anymore because mom is falling into a panic state. However, a good birth partner by her side is going to recognize the signs. He reminds her to relax, breathe. He affirms her. And once she's back in a place of confidence and focus, the other labor tools will work again. Coping tools require relaxation and focus in order to be effective. And your birth partner helps you stay in that meditative headspace. A doula friend of mine was with a first-time mom in labor. It was a really long labor and she started at home and ended up transferring, and the doula stepped out for a little bit to check in with her kids, and the mom said, okay, but please hurry back. The contractions hurt more when you're not here. And once that doula was gone, the hospital staff saw a change come over this mother. She did not manage her surges as well. She was exhausted, she was drained, and she really started to lose it when the doula came back, and she was fine once again. The doula provided a powerful, reassuring presence that allowed this mother to relax and labor well. Now, the caveat here is that your birth partner needs to be really good. If your best friend is squeamish or doesn't support your birth plan, then she's not who you want to have with you at your birth. Negativity is contagious and it is going to affect your state of mind. The key here is to gather a supportive team and make sure that your main birth partner is highly supportive and knowledgeable. When I was pregnant with my first baby, Sam, my husband, started out by saying, the only safe place to give birth is in a hospital. These midwives aren't doctors, they don't know anything. A water birth can't be safe, and a million other misconceptions because we didn't know anything, first-time parents, you know. But as we both did more learning, he became the most supportive, the most knowledgeable advocate I could have asked for. By the time our daughter was born, he was advocating left and right for my birth plan. He knew how to help me relax. He knew how to affirm me, and I can 100% guarantee I could not have done it without him. And you might be thinking, well, shoot, that's not my husband. I want a home birth, but he's not comfortable. Or I want his support, but he doesn't know where to begin, and that's okay. First-time dads have never had a reason to look into any of this stuff. They just need a framework. They need a bit of learning, a bit of practice, and your husband is going to be the most knowledgeable birth partner you could ask for. The Equinatural Birth Course shows dads how to advocate for you when they're pushing interventions or when you're in transition. He'll know which acupressure point will speed it up. With a supportive birth partner, you are going to manage pain, stay calm and collected, avoid interventions, and you will waltz into your birth confident that you are not alone. He's right by your side. I'm actually super passionate about this. You can probably hear the change in my tone of voice. Sam and I have bonded so much during my pregnancies and births, and we owe it to birth education. Right from the start, childbirth was never something I had to do by myself. It was something we tackled together. Okay, I need to get off my soapbox because we will be here all day. The next thing that every first-time mom needs going into labor is the ability to say no. And saying no requires that every other tool, solid birth education, confidence, the support of your husband, is also in place. Saying no is hard to do. Boundaries suck, but saying no will make or break your experience. When I was pregnant with my second baby, everybody knew that my first birth did not go as planned. I ended up at the hospital. I had a baby in the NICU. I begrudgingly had to surrender a lot of control, so I was 9 weeks pregnant with that second baby, and I'm at my sister's wedding, and I'm in my bridesmaid dress, and I'm trying to enjoy myself through the morning sickness. And several people came up to me with well-meaning chastisement. Maria, you're gonna do a midwife again? Don't you think you should get a doctor's opinion? And my favorite comment actually came from a midwife whose care I switched out of. And she said, you know, I would feel more comfortable if you got all of these extra tests. Wait a minute. You would feel more comfortable? I'm sorry, am I paying you to feel more comfortable during my pregnancy? Honey, no, I'm paying you to attend the birth that I want, the birth that makes me feel comfortable and strong and safe. And yes, I got guilt tripped. Maria, you could be putting your baby at risk. Maria, you don't want to end up with a C-section. Maria, you don't want a repeat of what happened last time. And I won't lie, it started to get in my head a little bit. Am I being selfish? Am I being reckless? But then I remembered what I know to be true, and that is the mother knows best. I know that there is no indication of anything wrong. My blood tests came back perfect. My baby's growth, heartbeat, movement, all of it was perfect. I was working out, perfectly healthy. There was no reason why I needed to treat this pregnancy as high risk just because my last pregnancy was high risk. This midwife that I was previously seeing was just scared. She didn't want the liability and she just wanted to cover her butt. I said no politely, but I did switch to a midwife who was much more in line with my personal birth philosophy. And I won't lie, in order to say no, I really had to lean into my knowledge of birth. Sam really supported me through all of it, and I had to have a ton of confidence to assert the fact that when it comes to myself and my baby, I really do know best. And guess what? My home birth went great, and baby Colby is a fat, happy little boy. I don't think there is a mother alive who hasn't received some unwanted suggestion or been pushed in a direction she didn't like. If you're pregnant right now, you know what I'm talking about, whether it's your mother-in-law, your obstetrician. People really like to give advice, which is why you need the tools to stay confident and say no. If you liked this video, you are gonna love my other stuff, so hit subscribe to get the facts you need to have the kind of birth you want, and I will see you next time.